Hello, good morning. I am excited to be here today. We've got those of you who are in Columbus, Ohio or surrounding, it's actually snowing here a little bit. So I feel like the SOUPS party was perfect timing for this. This year we are playing around with different dates and times. In December, we did throw out there, we did a Thursday morning prep party, and some of the feedback that I got was that we wanted weekends. So we are trialing Sunday today. I know next month it will be a Saturday, and we'll see if that kind of has better attendance. But either way, if you're catching the replay today, I'm pumped to have you part of it. If you are jumping on, seeing this replay, and you do not have access to the recipes yet, no worries. You can jump on and grab yourself a free week. You can just kind of scroll to the bottom of these videos and see it there. I have thrown my hair up because we mean business right now, people. We are going to prep all 5 meals in less than an hour. We're going to zoom through. So today, I kind of set mine up on my iPad separately. You're good to go using it on your screen. I just don't, because obviously I'm recording this. So today we're prepping crockpot bacon cheeseburger soup, chicken and wild rice soup, taco soup, crockpot Thai chicken soup, and turkey chili. I do need to apologize in advance that if you hear my dishwasher going, you would think it would have been done by now. I put it on an hour or so ago, but here we are. Never mind. Okay. We're going to work in order today. We don't have a bunch to do. We do have some chopping and prepping. If you are aware of how our prep parties work, we do not cook at all, or at least not very often in our prep party. So in this 1 hour, we are chopping, we are dicing, we are filling our containers or freezer bags or whatever, ready to go into our crock pot or oven, etc. Today's are all crock pot recipes. So how I have my bench laid out is I have my stands and my bags ready to go, and I have one individually for each recipe. And I also lay out my ingredients in order of how we're going to be starting to cook. Okay, so when I call out crockpot bacon cheeseburger soup, which we're starting with, I have all those ingredients good to go. Okay, let's get into it, I guess, is the best way. So we're starting with the crockpot bacon cheeseburger soup. So for this one, we're going to use all of the ingredients that are on that ingredients list, but we are not going to add in any of the dairy products if you are freezing it. Okay, let me repeat that. If you're freezing it, so the cheddar cheese, the cream cheese, the milk, and also the flour, we're leaving that out because we're going to add that in towards the end of our cooking time to make it thick and creamy and delicious. And I promise this is a absolute favorite. So let's start with our freezer bag, and I'm just going to dump it in as we go. I'm starting with my ground beef, and I'm just going to throw that into my bag. If you prefer to put a liquid in first, by all means, go for it. I always make sure that we have enough time to massage our all of our proteins and things as well. I'm going to put that down there so you can kind of see me a little bit better. All right, from here, let's get into our dicing and slicing and such. So I've already rinsed all of the vegetables that we're going to be using. So all we have to do here is start dicing. This recipe is calling for a cup of onion. I typically set out my workspace to have 2 different chopping boards. Oh, that can stay. So I have one that I use for my vegetables and fresh produce, and then I have one that I use for my proteins. I have had someone in the past ask me why, because we're throwing everything in together into the same bag. I don't know, it just feels better to me. That is the best thing about prep parties. We get to choose our own ingredients. We also get to choose how and what and when we do it, right? So if it doesn't matter to you, by all means, you only need 1 chopping board and 1 knife. In fact, today I'm excited to tell you, we're not chopping any protein. So it makes a nice difference from last time. If you were here for our December party, we had to chop up all of that pork, right? So we're not doing that today. But we are chopping a bunch of carrots and a bunch of celery. Okay, now that I've diced that onion, it's going straight into my freezer bag. turn that around with the handle in the way. Once I've got my cup of onion in there, I am skipping over the cheddar cheese part because obviously we're not adding that in yet. And we are adding in about 4.5 ounces. So it's just a regular sized can. I bought one large can because we are going to be needing it for another recipe. So this is 28 ounces. I'm just going to halve it and I'm going to dump it straight into here. Perfect. That's going to work as some of our liquid. So we got that in there. We are also adding in, if you have your 5 strips of bacon, these are cooked. So you can see in the notes, they would be cooked ahead of time. If you are not adding them in now, which I am not, just add them in when you add in your cheese. Okay, it's not like it has to be cooked for a long time because it's already pre-cooked. Okay, if you have bacon bits, if you have, the little ham, diced ham, feel free to throw that in as well. We are adding in 1/2 cup of celery that are chopped and then 1 cup of carrots shredded. I did not buy shredded carrots, so I am going to be dicing mine really fine. But I'm going to start with my celery. So as I said, all of my vegetables have already been rinsed and washed. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to dice these. Now, let me tell you about this. I know this doesn't sound like a cheeseburger, having carrots and celery in it, but the celery pretty much breaks down to nothing. As with the carrots, because they're shredded, I will probably be able to taste mine and pick mine because they're going to be diced. But when you shred them, and because they're in the crock pot for so long to be cooked, they break down to essentially nothing. And with the tomatoes in there, you don't see them and you don't taste them. So it's just another way to sneak in some vegetables into your family meals. And I'm doing my celery really quite fine. And you can go ahead and dice them even smaller if you wish. 1/2 cup isn't much. You'll notice that I'm doing a little bit more here. Because as I said, I'm using up what I've bought. If you looked ahead at our recipes today, you would have noticed we're using carrots and celery a fair amount, right? I do this on purpose. So whenever I plan the menus, and you can see the entire year is up currently, I always make sure that we're buying ingredients that we're actually using, okay? I would never have you buy something that you're going to use 1 ounce of an 8-ounce jar and then have to toss it out or find a recipe for it. So I always try to make sure that we are really frugal, for lack of a better word, with our resources, so we're not wasting our money. In saying that, if you are left over with something at the end, sometimes we're left over with things like feta cheese or, things like that. You can search the portal for that ingredient. So, how can I use up this ingredient because I don't want it to go to waste in my fridge, and a whole plethora of recipes will come up. I'm yet to find, an ingredient that only has 1 recipe. And of course, you can omit any of these ingredients that don't sound good to you, or if there's a member in your family who doesn't eat them, leave them out or sub for something else. How good is Google? Google's our best friend. They'll always tell us kind of what we can sub. Between my dishwasher and my toddler playing downstairs, we're having some fun. Oh, Lord. All right, I'm just continuing to check that I'm not leaving anybody in the waiting room. We're not here to be professional chefs, let me tell you. We're here to make life a little bit easier during the week when it seems to get really busy, whether, your family is a sporting family or, you're working full time or you've got a baby in your arms from sun up till sundown. Let's just simplify all of our jobs. And this is one way we're going to do that. So kudos to you for taking an hour out of your weekend to get this done. Your week's going to be awesome for it. I'll tell you that right now. All right, we've got our celery, we've got our carrots. We're adding in 2 cups of potatoes. So I've got my 1 potato here. And I'm going to go ahead and peel it. You do not have to. I've already rinsed mine. Now, right beside me here, I promise I'm not putting it onto the floor. I leave my trash can open so that I can simply, put stuff straight in. One day I will be a composting family. This is not our year. I need to learn more and do more. Oh, there we go. I think my dishwasher's done now. So that's good. I can actually get a decent knife out. I'm left using a bread knife because I washed all the others. We're like not a huge dishwasher family. Like we don't use ours often. Maybe if we're like entertaining. But I ran like my cutlery through it this morning. My golly. Of course, didn't realize it was going to take that long. Now, let me show you how thin I'm cutting these potatoes. And then I'm going to dice them quite small because same situation here. This is what makes it creamy and delicious. All right. And a little bit heartier. Now you can notice here, like I've given this one is 2 cups of potatoes cubed. And if you've bought cubed potatoes, go right ahead. Like, yes, we're about making this easier, right? However, I'm doing them myself, but I'm just making them nice and small so they cook at the same time as all the rest of my vegetables. And I'm also not wasting. So I chose a medium-sized potato. If it's more than 2 cups or less than 2 cups, so be it. I'm not going to put, a tiny amount of potato in my fridge and expect to use it over the next few days. So just bear that in mind with any of our recipes. Mix and match. Who knows? You might find that you're the better. And by all means, if you want to hear about it, you can rate any of our recipes. You can leave comments of what you did that made it better or perhaps didn't work out so the next person knows not to try that. And then we also have the favoritize option. So if you make a recipe today that you absolutely love, that your family loves, feel free to favoritize that. So then if you're ever building your own menu, which you totally can do, you can just kind of go back to that list and know exactly what you're having. All right, we've got our potatoes in. We're leaving out our cream cheese. We're leaving out our milk and our flour. So let's add in 4 cups of chicken broth. Really important that we add that in here because we want to cover at least our protein. Depending on how long you're leaving it in the fridge or in your freezer, you want to make sure it doesn't get freezer burn. So freezer burn is when proteins or vegetables, whatever, are exposed to air or to the freezer too long. So let's get everything covered in liquid. And then that way we are safe. I'm doing 4 cups here. So I'm making sure everything's kind of covered. I'm using 1 whole container. And then the only thing left to add here before we start sealing it all up is our minced garlic. We're adding in 2 teaspoons or whatever sounds good to you and your family. We're also adding in salt if you want it. I'm not adding it in because I've already got that chicken broth in there. And then we've also got basil and black pepper. So that's my black pepper and my basil. Okay, then all you can see that I'm doing here is I'm sealing my bag. And then right before I seal it completely, I'm just going to try and get out some of that excess air. It is a little harder on the bags where we have a bunch of liquid in, but we just don't want it hanging around. Now here I go. I'm just kind of massaging that beef just to make sure that it's out of all my corners of my bag and that it's covered in that liquid. And that is us done. First recipe is done. All right. There might not be that much chopping in all of them because, again, I always take ingredients into account, and then I also count prep time so that all 5 of our done-for-you recipes each week can be prepped in an hour or less. So we are moving on now to recipe number 2. We're doing the chicken and wild rice soup. So once again, I am grabbing my next bag and going ahead. We are working through the ingredients list here, if you have it up in front of you, but we are not putting in any of that milk mixture. So no butter, no flour, no milk. Okay. Let's start with our chicken breasts. All right, we're going for 3 large chicken breasts, or we're going for like a pound. So I know I've got roughly more than that here, but that's okay. I'm just throwing the breast in as is because we're going to have the opportunity to shred it once it's cooked. So let's use my fork to kind of put them in the bottom there. We're adding in 3 large carrots, diced. Once again, I have baby carrots. That's just what I have. That's what I'm using. I'm going to dice them up. And then I'm also dicing 1 cup of celery. Once again, have been rinsed. So I love having you guys on with me, or that I'm recording, because I'm dropping carrots. I am such a picker as I cook. Like, I swear I eat half a meal as I'm chopping. I'm dropping half of these carrots. I gotta start paying attention. Never mind. So here's another recipe where we have those carrots and celery. You know, if you bought shredded carrots for the last recipe, there's no reason why you can't use that in here. Your cook time might not be as long. All right. So I'm putting my carrots into the bag. I'll be adding that celery as well. I've been juicing a little bit this past week. Doing a lot of celery, a lot of carrots. For those of you who don't know, I am 22 weeks pregnant, I think I am now. And vegetables for that first trimester were not my friend. Like, honestly, nothing but like potatoes and absolute junk were. So I've been really trying to get some vegetables and healthier foods in. So how I've been doing that is with juicing, because, you know, that always sounds good to me, nice and fresh. So just the celery is reminding me of it. Next up, we're adding that cup of onion. So I'm going to use that leftover that I had of my last for this. Okay. Now, depending on how fine you dice your onion, this is really just going to act more as flavor than anything, because we're slow cooking this for so long, it practically disintegrates if you cut it small enough or dice it small enough. So if you kind of want chunks, perhaps don't dice, just quarter. Or if your family is not a huge onion family, you know what you can also do is just add in the whole onion, obviously peel it, and add it in. And so when it cooks, you are getting somewhat of the flavors of the onion, but you're removing it before you're eating it. I was just about to brag to you that I'm not crying from this onion, and I feel it coming on. So that's fun. All right. I'm adding that onion in there as well. It's 1 cup of onion. Like I said, if it ends up being a little more or a little less, no worries. I'm just going to make the most of our produce here. Whew, all right. From here, we're going to add in half a teaspoon of black pepper, the same of salt, minced garlic. Again, we're going for 1 tablespoon. Yeah, we don't have as many ingredients. We're going for some fresh parsley or parsley, dried parsley, whatever you've got. I added fresh to the click list. So if you went for the click list, right ahead. Then finally, we're adding in 1 cup of white rice. So I'm just going to dump that in there. You can definitely just rinse it and drain that before you put it in your bag. And then finally, we're adding in 4 cups of chicken broth. And then depending on how many people you're serving, you can add a few more cups in. I wouldn't do that now. I would hold off on that. Wait till you start to cook it. And then kind of as you pull that chicken out to shred it, you may need to add in a couple of cups. Reason for that is we're using dry rice. So it typically tends to like soak up that mixture, soak up that liquid. All right, I made my own broth here because I didn't buy enough because I'm a fool and won't follow my own click list. So I'm going to dump that in there. And then I will likely need to do, I think that was 2.5 cups. So I'm going to do another. And it doesn't matter if you're using your bouillons or the chicken cubes. It doesn't matter if they disintegrate now in the water or not, because they're going to in your crock pot when it comes to serving time, right? The most important thing is in here is just making sure that rice is covered. All right. Let's check this. I think we've got it all in here now. So once again, I'm going to peel off my bag, really make sure that all of my air is out. Now, if you're thinking, that doesn't really sound all that delicious yet, just remember before we serve, we're adding in butter, flour, and milk. If you have labels for your bags, you might want to just scribble on there kind of what you're adding. I always bring up my recipes as I throw it in just so I can remember the steps or know what I'm adding in and cook times and all that kind of thing. But you can feel free to add it to your bag. All right. Recipe 2. How are we doing for time, team? Haven't had a look. 10:23. All right. Killing it. Let's keep going then. We are on to taco soup. Now, I know some of my members commented on the Facebook post of this that it's like, this is on repeat for my family. So this is a favorite. Okay. We are doing, of course, another bag here. Now we are adding in ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever protein you want. I am actually cooking this one for a dear friend who has just had a baby. And she has 2 young girls, not quite toddlers, but just about. And I'm doing turkey as their personal preference. So I'm going to dump in that ground turkey. We're going for a pound of it, no matter what you're using. And then we're also going to add in 1/2 cup of onion, chopped up, so diced quite fine here. How good are dump meals? I just love them. I love them. They take up 0 space in my freezer or in my fridge. That's where I run out of space. And then I also love that there's not a lot of cleanup. So after we finish this hour, I'll probably have a couple of bowls, if that, to clean up. And that's my kind of cooking. All right. Let's dice this onion. Now, taco soup, what am I serving with this? I am serving like tortilla chips or like this crusty bread. You could serve it, there's already rice in there, but you could serve it with rice, additional vegetables. It's yummy. It's really yummy. If you bought frozen diced onion, totally fine. Actually, really smart. Someone else has done the hard work for you. You know what I need is one of those, I don't know what they're called. The choppers? It looks like a rectangle shaped appliance. And you kind of put like your onion on there and then you press down and it just dices it and everything's the same size. Like That's what I need. Somebody sign me up for that. Or if you sell it, hit me up about it because I want one. All right, I'm getting my onion in there. About half a cup of that. Mine was probably a little more. We're going for 4 ounces, 14 ounces, like a can of black beans. This doesn't necessarily have to be drained. You'll notice in the others, it has to be drained. This one is totally fine to throw it in. So again, preference on that. Our black beans are going in there. We're going for a cup of corn kernels, frozen or fresh is good. We are adding in 1 whole cup of green pepper. Okay, I have one about yay big. I'm probably just going to use the whole thing, honestly, because I bought enough for future recipes. So that's probably what I'll do. Once again, mine have all been rinsed. So it's just a matter of, slicing and dicing. That's really the only thing I do ahead of time for these prep parties. I rinse all my vegetables and I also open all of my cans. You don't have to. You can do it as we go, especially if you've got one of those fantastic dicers and choppers. I need to find out what they're called. You're probably saving yourself a bunch of time right now. You're just listening to me talk. All right. After I've got my roughly 1 cup, I'm just doing 1 kind of smallish green pepper. I mean, if we get extra vegetables in, I'm not mad about it, right? I'm going to throw that into our bag as well. From here, I am adding in a cup of brown rice. If you're like me and you purchased white rice for the previous recipe, for the chicken and rice soup, use it. No worries. I've got both because I'm cooking this kind of with kids in mind. I'm just going to use white, but up to you. Okay, from here, we're going to add in 1 cup of beef broth, or any broth. If you're using chicken, you can use chicken broth, whichever. And then measure this out. Only because I'm planning on using the rest of this for my recipe. I think it's the final recipe that I need broth for. So, fun fact for you there. Okay, let's add in some 15 ounces of diced tomatoes. With the sauce is fine. I'm using the other half of mine, which I said to you earlier. So I'm going to dump that in there. That's kind of why we don't need a lot of broth for this one, because we're adding it in there. And we're also adding in, this is our final step for this recipe, 10 ounces of enchilada sauce, red enchilada sauce. This is needed. This is what makes it absolutely fire. I'm going to get my red enchilada sauce and I'm going to dump it in there. I'm just checking I'm using the whole thing. I am. I'm going to dump it in there. So yummy. And look at those layers. Can you see? Do they look really pretty to you? Because I'm so pumped about this one. I'm going to close mine over just lazily right now. I don't kind of care how much air is in there because I want to massage that red enchilada sauce through all of my ingredients. So here we're just making sure those beans are combined and mixed in. The rice is covered so it can kind of soak up some of those liquids. And my turkey is covered. Then I'm just going to pop open a little edge and try and squeeze out as much of that air as we can. This won't be in my freezer long. I'm cooking this Tuesday for her. So I'll probably just put it in the fridge, honestly. So I'm not too concerned about that. All right. moving that to the side. As you guys can see, these are like massive meals, right? So you can halve the recipe. You can change your serving number. If you have a look through meal prep menus, majority of them are aimed at 4 people. I do 6 people sometimes if it's like a soup. But otherwise it's typically 4. But you can adjust that if you're cooking for 1, 2, 10, whatever the situation is. Or if you would like to cook for a particular event. How this kind of came about was I was preparing recipes for when I had my first baby, and I wanted to fill my freezer with easy, quick meals. So I prepped a bunch of things ahead of time. And this is awesome to do. You can kind of just separate it amongst 2 bags, and then you've got a bunch of meals if there's only 2 or 3 of you. All right, we're moving on. Guys, it is 10:31. We only have 2 recipes to go. Absolutely killing it. Yay to us. We are going to start with, surprise, surprise, some carrots chopped. Getting my bag here. Let me get my carrots here, chop them up, and add them in. Always looking out for you guys in regards to those ingredients. Not that I really care having leftover carrots because they're such a yummy snack. And yummy to juice as well. Now that I'm in my juicing mood. We are going for 2 carrots here. So obviously I'm doing more because I'm doing baby carrots. I wasn't specific with my choices. You know what? I'm just going to use up the rest of these. Why not? Have them out. All right. Let me throw them into our bag. We are going to next, if you already had chopped carrots, is dice up a pepper. The ingredient calls for a red pepper. If you care about that, I'm using a yellow here today. So same thing. I'm probably just going to use the whole thing. I have enough for all of my recipes, so I may as well. Let's get a bunch of healthy recipes today. You can also see at the bottom of every recipe, if you're somebody who is counting calories or interested in your macros or working towards a health or fitness goal, all of our nutritional information is at the bottom of every recipe. They are also tagged by the amount of like protein they have in them. They are considered high protein if they have more than 30 grams is protein per serve, and low carb options there as well. So make sure you check out that feature. Make sure you can check out the searchable bar at the top. It's got gluten-free, dairy-free, low carb, high protein. What else have we got, fam? Vegetarian, whole bunch. Nut-free, I think is one. Okay. I'm going to add that in here. And yes, this is calling for 1 bell pepper. So depending on the size, you'll have more or less. Yeah. Let's add in some ginger. So you can add in either a piece of ginger, whole piece, or you can add in your minced ginger. Totally fine either way. 2 teaspoons is, ginger. I'm onto garlic. Where am I? Ginger. Here. I'm using dried. Wish I could blame just that pregnancy brain, but that was just me. All right, I love ginger. Now we're going to add in the garlic, not to be mistaken. It's 2 teaspoons. We are also adding in 4 tablespoons of red curry paste. I'm using the Private Selections one. Whatever you have is totally fine. And we're going for 4 tablespoons. It smells so good. All right. Yum. I am also going for 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. This is the one I'm using. Two tablespoons. I know I've got a teaspoon here. I'll just be over generous. Good. We're adding in 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I am using liquid aminos. Fun fact for you, it's just a gluten-free option from your soy sauce. Usually less sodium as well. Adding 2 there. And then 3 cups of chicken stock. So once again, I'm going to have to make mine. So let me just throw my 2 cups, my 2 cubes in here, and I'll throw in 3 cups and we'll add that in. If you're just pouring it in, go ahead and add in 3 cups there. We then get to add in 1 pound of chicken thighs or chicken breast. Chicken thighs are definitely more delicious, but whatever you ordered is good. All right, I'm going to dump my 3 cups in here, making sure I'm getting off all of that red curry sauce from the side. I'm then adding in my chicken thighs or my chicken breasts. So this is my giant chicken breast that I'm adding in there. My pack was 1.95 pounds. So I used 1 pound in that wild rice, and then I'm using the leftover here. We are actually done with this recipe from here. We are not adding in our coconut milk, our lime, or our vermicelli noodles. So I'm just going to make sure that my chicken is completely immersed in that liquid. And we are done there. How good does that smell? Can you, like, good, right? This is one that you can serve easily, with something other than those vermicelli noodles, but this one goes a long way. It's so good with those noodles. It's so good. This one's one that you can use to entertain your guests because it smells so good. So when they walk in, it smells delicious. All right, I was just making sure I got all the air out of that. So that's our Thai chicken. Let's hit up this last recipe. Guys, we are killing it for time. Turkey chili. Okay, I'm kind of excited for this one. We are going to Hocking Hills over the next few days, and I always take like a crock pot meal because then I can just set it and forget it, and then our dinner is done. Nice and cozy in the cabin, fireplace. Set the scene for you there. So I'm glad you left this one to last. I'm just clearing my workspace here a little so it's not confusing for me. So let's get started. Now this recipe is for 6 people, 6 to 8 people. So it does call for 2 pounds of ground turkey. If you are not cooking for such a huge amount, I am not. I have halved that. So just ensuring that you kind of halve some of the other things. Totally up to you as to how you want it. I am going to continue with my vegetables and my beans because I figure it's great protein, great fiber, but just something to bear in mind for you there. All right, I'm going to actually dump I I'm using ground turkey for my turkey chili. If your family wants something else. We're also going to add in 2 cups of chicken broth. I think that's all I have left in my cubes. So I'm thankful for that. I severely underestimated my broth situation today, but that's okay. I always like to keep these in my cupboard for situations like this. 2 cups. I am obviously going to do just a little less because I don't have the 2 pounds of turkey. So I'm doing 1.5 cups rather than the 2 because I'm still keeping my vegetables and my beans high, which is what I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to dump that in there. We are adding in a can of diced tomatoes. We're just going for a small one here. Let me look what I've got. I'm going to add this. I'm going to have to add in some tomatoes because I underestimated that. Same thing, doesn't matter. We're going to add in a yellow pepper and a green and a red pepper. So we got a bunch going on here. I'm just looking at my serving size. I think I'm going to do my yellow and my green, and I'm going to keep my orange, and I'll add that to my charcuterie board in Hocking Hills. Just because I want it to be like a similar amount with my turkey because I halved that part of my recipe. The good thing is with these dump and go recipes, like for this one, for example, I'm not freezing it. I can just swing by the store and pick up diced tomatoes if I don't have any in my pantry. I just had a quick look. It's like the best. Just add that onto the side of like what you need to add when you add it to your crock pot. Obviously, the goal is to have everything set up and ready. We are human, y'all. We make mistakes no matter how careful we are. So just add it in as you buy. Just make that note on your label or on your recipe. As I said, there is a note section. So by all means, add that on. If you are a returning member to Meal Prep Menus, thank you so much for being here. Last year was our launch year. So it was kind of like our beta phase, launching and implementing new things. This year, we're taking all of your feedback from prior surveys, and we've made so many great changes already that I'm loving. One being is that we are providing the entire year of done-for-you menus in advance rather than week to week or bi-weekly. So you literally have access to 52 weeks right now of done-for-you menus, plus over 400 recipes that you can search from. You'll notice that some breakfast items have been added along with desserts and snacks and that kind of thing. This year, you can expect even more seasonal recipes. Okay, so what I mean by that is for Valentine's Day, you'll see some great Valentine's Day options there if you're having a date night in, or some cute mocktails and cocktails coming your way as well. I made a right mess with that. Never mind. Let's do this green. If you have toddler boys, or I guess girls as well, I don't have a girl yet, so I don't know if they'll be the same, but we'll find out in a few months. We got Gray, that's my son, for Christmas. A climbing wall and like a hammock swing and monkey bars, ladder, and we have installed it in our basement. I hear him playing down there. That's what makes me tell you about it. Brilliant. Brilliant. He would never play down there for this long. He's just not a big toy guy, right? If it's not a ball or climbing or something dangerous, I feel he's really not interested. Although he does love his cooking, so that's kind of cool. He is a pretty good help. He definitely makes a lot of mess. But he's getting good. He's doing a few different things all by himself. So that is definitely on my wish list, to be able to add some really like kids in the kitchen friendly recipes. It's just not quite at the forefront right now, but watch this space. 2024 is the year to make things happen, right? All right. I'm going to add this in as well. We are adding in some black beans and some kidney beans that have been rinsed and drained. Okay. So I'm just gonna move this up because I feel like you can't see my head. I have rinsed and drained both of my beans, and I am going to be adding them in. I'm adding salt. I am adding pepper. That was my pepper because I'm not adding salt. I'm using the cubes instead. I'm adding chili powder. Oh, I'm looking for things in my section we've already used. Chili powder or chili flakes. We are adding some cumin, just 1 teaspoon of each of these. I love, love, love cumin. And some oregano. This is essentially like a taco, like a homemade taco seasoning mix, okay? Which we have on the meal prep menus, by the way. It will blow your mind at how affordable it is to make a whole big bunch. And then how much better it is than having like artificial flavors and colorings and things in your taco seasoning. I'm not gonna lie, we use it. There's a few recipes it calls for. If it's quick and easy, it's not important to you, let it go, right? If you're somebody who wants to eat a little cleaner, check out that recipe. Okay. My bag is going to look a lot unlike yours, nothing like yours, because I do not have my diced tomatoes in here. Okay. So all I'm going to do here is scrunch up, make sure that my turkey is covered. I am not freezing mine. I am cooking this tonight. So I'm not too concerned if they're covered in like broth or in the diced tomatoes yet, because I'm just going to be adding that in. So I'm just going to seal my bag, make sure that I pack this, make sure I buy some diced tomatoes on the way. And then we're good to go. That is our 5 recipes or our 5 meals in 48 minutes, and I did a lot of talking. So congratulations for getting it done. I really hope these meals are enjoyable for your family, are simple for your family. This just kind of gives you a little sneak peek of what Meal Prep Menus is all about. We use real ingredients that are real easy to find at your local stores. Nothing that's too exotic that you'll never use again. And family-friendly recipes that are somewhat healthier than what you would typically buy going through the drive-thru, right? So check it out. You've got a free week if you are, jumping on this for the first time. Check out some of our other recipes. You can build your own collection, rate the recipes, let us know what you think. And I look forward to seeing you in February for hearty meals. So we're going to be going more for like the pastas and the rice and the heavier dishes that are great, are so delicious, and will make you feel warm and fuzzy when it's gross out. But thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye.